Well, hello everyone. We are here. As we promised, we are doing a video answering some of you guys' questions about the lifestyle that we have chosen. Well, let me tell you, for those that don't already know, most of you do, about how long was it? Let's see. I'm going to go back about 3 years. I'm going to go back about 3 years when we decided to, when we actually started our actual journey from going from living in our typical sticks and bricks or our house to moving into a motorhome. We actually live in a motorhome right now. And what do you think about that, babe? We were in a house.
Yeah.
Now we're in a motorhome.
5,000 square feet.
Yeah.
400.
We went from 5,000 square feet to 400 square feet. So there has been some adjustments. So and a lot of people ask us questions along the way about why we did what we did. I was working. I had already retired from the military, and Adrian was working. She was teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Adrian was teaching, and I was at the time I was working civil service, working at the military base, civil service for the Air Force. And at the time, I had 10 years of civil service. After my military time, 10 years of civil service, and that's when the Lord really pressed upon us. It's time for us to make a change. Yeah. So we went from the 5,000 square feet to 400 square feet. And brothers, I'm gonna tell you, if your wife is not on board with doing that, don't do it. So we went from 5,000 square feet to 400 square feet, and that's where we are now. We've gone from full-time living there to full-time living on the road. We're now serving in campground ministry as we travel the country, and so it's been quite a transition. So some people have questions, particularly those that are not a part of the RVing lifestyle. Well, we're full-time RVers. We live on the road full-time, so it has had its ups and downs. But we just want to share with you all, kind of some of those questions that you may have of us and the lifestyle that we've chosen. So a few of you sent some questions, and we're gonna touch on them. We're not gonna spend too long, but we're gonna kind of touch on those questions and kind of see where it goes from there. This actually, I think, it's our first video we've done in quite a while. We're not exactly under the awning right now. You can probably see the sun shining on our head. The sun behind us is doing real well, probably for the camera, but so we might get a little reflection, but we're gonna try to work on that. So Adrian's gonna ask you guys questions, and then we'll go from there to see how it goes.
Okay, first question. This one's from Priscilla. She said, what made you decide to move in this direction of your life? Good question, Priscilla.
You want to start?
Well, babe, it was a calling.
It was definitely a calling. It was a calling. Again, you don't just up and do it for us. I don't believe you should just up and do anything. We believe in following the leading of the Lord, and the Lord has definitely led us to do what we're doing right now. We had a couple of passions bringing us to this point. We have a passion for souls. We have a passion for sharing the goodness of the Lord with the world, and God has called us to a community of people that are, for the most part, unchurched. Many of us are parts of local churches and part of religious organizations, but many of the people in the community that we've been called to are not, and many have not accepted the Lord as a Savior. And so God has called us to take the good news of Jesus out to this community. So Priscilla's question, what made us decide to move? The calling was primary.
Well, even when we were in our bricks and sticks, our home, we always looked into doing something together.
Yeah.
All of our married lives, we've always wanted to do something that both of us were really good at and what we enjoyed, and we wanted to do it together. And this is just an extension or a continuation, so to say, on what we love to do together, and that's traveling and ministry.
Traveling and ministry. And did I mention we're in campground ministry? We're traveling across the country sharing the goodness of Jesus Christ. God has brought those two passions together, and what a blessing. Oh, I tell you another blessing. The sun just went behind a cloud, and we can see real good right now. So Priscilla, it was definitely a calling, and it was definitely a calling, and we just love what we're doing, and I don't know how long it's going to be, but we'll see.
Yep, we'll see.
We'll see.
All right, let's go to Mike's question.
Oh, Mike, not Mike.
Mike said, "What was your most memorable hike to date?"
Okay, Mike. This has a backstory, and see, Mike.
Give him the short version.
I'm gonna give you the short version, but Mike is trying to be funny. We were in where were we at? We were in Colorado. We were visiting Mike and Amber, his wife Amber. We were visiting them. They were work camping, and work camping. You know, I think you guys know a little bit. We did a little work camping, but they were work camping at the time in Colorado, and we went to their campground to visit them. While we were there, Mike and Amber decided to invite us to go on a little hike. Let me underline little, and put little in quotes because that's what they said, a little hike. So Adrian and I said, sure, So we, and this was spirit of the moment. See, we didn't know that Mike had a couple things in the back of his car. Adrian and I had nothing but what we had on and one water bottle. Mike asked the question, what was your most memorable hike? Well, let me tell you what happened. We got up to this hiking location, and it said 2 miles.
It was 2.5 miles.
2.5 miles. It just said 2.5 miles. So I'm assuming,
Okay.
Adrian and I are rookies. We have never hiked. So this is our very first hike. But 2 miles, 2.5 miles,
You can do it.
you could do that in your sleep. 2 miles, what's 2 miles? Keep in mind, let me go back and say again, this is our very first hike. Go ahead and tell them a little bit about this, babe.
Well, let's see. We had our tennis shoes.
Yeah, tennis
We had
shoes.
some blue jeans.
Yes,
We had a hat.
yes.
And like he said,
And one water bottle.
So as we begin,
Well, Mike and Amber, they had this wasn't their first hike. This was our first hike. So they had a little bit of gear on the back of their truck. When we got there, they looked like hikers. We looked like rookies. Go ahead.
okay, so we begin the hike, and we're going up and up and up, and wow, we would stop, got a little something to eat, drank a little bit of water,
Yeah.
and we continued to go up
She said up, and
and up.
this wasn't 2 miles around a high school gym, high school track. No. We had to do what is called switchbacks, which goes like this. We didn't even know what a switchback was, but we know what switchbacks are now. So Mike asked the question, what was your most memorable hike to date? We hiked, it said 2.5 miles,
Right.
but it was, I think, closer to 3 miles
Yeah.
one way.
I mean, when you're passing snow,
Yeah.
I mean, you're going up.
It wasn't snow at the bottom, but we passed snow at the top. We might share a few pictures in this video when we share it with you all, just so you can get some kind of idea of what we're talking about. But this was certainly our most memorable hike. We hiked up to what we call, matter of fact, it was called Hope Lake. It was Hope Lake, and trust me, we were hoping the whole time trying to get to where we were going because we had no idea where we were going. And every time you pass somebody, they say, oh, it's just around the next bend. They lied. They lied. So,
Yeah.
okay, Mike, you're trying to be funny. Mike's trying to be funny.
Yeah, but Hope
No,
Lake was the most memorable because not only did we press our way and we made it to the lake, and it is the most beautiful lake. It was breathtaking once
Yeah.
we got there.
Yeah.
But then I had that moment when I said, "Oh no, we have to go back."
I don't know what was harder, going up or coming back
Coming
down.
back down.
Using different muscles that we hadn't used in a while.
Yeah.
So Hope Lake hike was the most memorable.
So.
And Mike knew that when he asked the question. He just wanted me to get on camera and share it with everybody. That it was our most memorable, but it planted a seed in us, and we have gone on multiple hikes since then. But see, they may have known what they're doing. But see, we struggled a little bit going up there. But
I struggled a lot.
and I tell you what, I reflected back on my Army hiking days. When I say Army hiking days, back then in the Army they called it road marches. And I reflected back on the road march. That's how I tell you how tough it was for us. So, okay, Mike, that was a funny one. But I got your number, brother.
But we did it. We completed it. We persevered, and it was worth it.
It was a lesson in perseverance. So
Yes.
we did enjoy it, and we have done it again. Not that kind of hike, but we have done it. So
Okay. So Donna asked, "How do you get your mail? How has this journey changed your life?" So first of all, let's do the first one. How do you get your mail? How do we get our mail?
well, Donna, I tell you what, it's good to hear from you. I worked with Donna, and when I was working civil service before I retired. Good to see you, Don. Good to see you online. Our mail, we are one of the things we did prior to getting on the road was about 2 or 3 months before we got on the road, we joined a RV club, and part of that RV club is called Escapees, and part of the Escapees club is a mail forwarding service. So you ask how do we get our mail? We have all of our mail. Well, let me go backtrack a bit. About 3 months, like I said, about 3 months before we hit the road, I had already transitioned everything to online. All of our bills and everything is done online. So I had already started minimizing our mail that was coming to the house. So when I went down to the mail, by the time we had actually left the house, we were getting very little mail at the house. It was good. So we started up a few months early, having all of our mail sent to the mail forwarding service. Our mail forwarding service is in Texas. We have everything go there, and depending upon where we are, wherever we are, we can call or send an email to the mail forwarding service, and they will send the mail directly to wherever we want it to go. We're in a campground right now, and if we want to, matter of fact, I may in a few days call the mail forwarding service and say send our mail here, and they'll send it here, and I'll just go to the office and pick it up. Not too often will I send it ahead because it kind of ties you down to having to be a certain place at a certain time, and so we try to make ourselves available to the Lord, so we don't always know exactly where we're going to be and how long we're going to be there. So I don't send it ahead very often, but we do have it sent to our existing where we are at a particular time. So that's how we get our mail, Donna. It's the mail forwarding services work real well for us.
And then she asked, "How has this journey changed your life?"
Well, what do you think, babe?
Wow. Well, it's taught me. I like the freedom. That's what I like more than anything with this journey that we're on. We're not dragging a bunch of stuff with us. It was nice when we had our home and we had all the things that we needed to make our home comfortable. But now we're making this home comfortable with so much less, and I'm enjoying that. This journey has also helped me to appreciate simple things.
Yeah, for sure. I say we're doing more with less. Like I said, we moved from a 5,000 square foot home with a lot of stuff, and we're now in a 400-foot motorhome with very little stuff, with the exception of a couple things that important things that our daughters are keeping for us. We have everything with us, and that is a major change. We're not. One thing as far as how to change our lives, we are not tied to stuff anymore. We don't spend our lives acquiring. We don't spend our lives anymore having to have this, having to have that. We don't spend our lives having to be there, having to do this at a certain time all the time. We do have commitments, but our life is a lot more in doing what God calls us to do. It's important for us to do that. You know, the busyness of the lifestyle that we left. This lifestyle we live now is not for everyone, not at all. I would not encourage everyone to do it. However your lifestyle is, where you're living, everything that you're doing in your home, I don't have to say everything, but this lifestyle is very much the same as far as the requirements of living. It's just that we live on 8 wheels. We, you know, as far as the requirements of living, we live on 8 wheels, you know, and you may live in a traditional home. But so all of the requirements of life are still there. But we spend more time focusing on what God has us to do, and we're able to do that. And our traveling allows us to do that. You know, so
It's truly strengthened our faith.
definitely strengthen our faith walk, because as we sit here today, we don't know exactly where we want to go next. You know? So that's a major change in changing lifestyle. We truly do not know exactly where we're going to go next. We do our plan. You know, we do plan, but we do our plans in pencil, and because we know God has changed them multiple times, we continue to do that. So and we don't have a problem with that. You know, so it's not for everyone, but we have had a lot of adjustments. It has required a lot of adjustments. So.
Yes. All right. This next one's from, does I say Chanda?
Oh, Chanda. Uh-huh.
Chanda?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Chanda asks, have you gotten settled in some places and suddenly realized you may not be as safe as you thought? Let's do the first part of the question.
Okay. She also had a 2-part question.
Yeah.
Chanda, it's good to see you online there. It's been quite a while. Have you gotten settled in places? The short answer is no, in that we've never gotten up in the middle of the night and said, I've got to get out of here. I just don't feel, no, we have to go. We have not gotten to that point. So the short answer is no, we have not. A little bit longer answer is we have gotten to places where after getting settled in, once in a while, we like for instance right now, and we haven't heard one, so don't be worried. We may get somewhere that is not far from a target range, and we didn't know it was a target range at the time, and we heard a fire. Then we heard a gunshot. Then we heard another gunshot and another gunshot. Then we realized we weren't too far from a firing range down the road. But when you are living the lifestyle we've chosen now, gunshots, either whether they're doing target practice or not, you don't want to hear any gunshots. So that didn't make me move, but it did make me take caution in where we were, you know.
And weather.
Weather.
Yeah. I remember we were someplace, and it was like almost a tornado.
We were in Kansas. How about that? We were in Kansas, probably about where, what's the lady in the Wizard of Oz? What's her name?
Dorothy.
Dorothy. We felt just like Dorothy one night. We stopped in Kansas one night at a rest stop, and we had gotten there relatively early. We got gotten there relatively early because we don't drive at nighttime. So we got there relatively early, and there was a storm coming in. Well, lo and behold, did we feel unsafe? It was pretty shaky, but
Yeah.
but it had gotten to the point where,
When you see people running,
yeah, people were running. We were at a camp stop, a rest stop, and people were running people getting off the road in their cars and running into the men's room and the women's room because it was made out of brick. There were big trucks,
yes.
big trucks getting off the road, and they were getting out of their trucks and going into the restroom. So that, and I say the restroom because it was a stable place. So that night was a little shaky, but obviously we were not going to get back on the road that night. So that was a little shaky, literally shaky that night. But we felt okay. We felt we're a praying family. We believe the Lord was going to protect us, and He covered us that night. So we have gotten to a place where that was a little shaky. But as far as feeling in an unsafe environment, no, we haven't got to the point where we feel okay. We need to pack up and get out of here. We haven't found that spot. So.
Okay, and the second part of her question was, what are your expenses like, given RV parks are not as cheap as they used to be? Good question.
That is a very good question. Let me preface my answer by saying the RV lifestyle in that aspect is very much just like anyone else's lifestyle. You can live high on the hog, or you can live low in the valley. Your choice, your budget. So that's the short answer. You can live wherever, you can live at the level you want to live at. The cost of campgrounds has gone up for certain, and again, we trust in the Lord for provision. Let me take this time to thank those that support us.
Yes.
With the people that are supporting us, not only in prayer, but those that are supporting us financially.
Yes.
So we want to take this opportunity to say thank you so much for what you're doing and for your faithfulness in giving and sharing and being a part of what God is doing. Partnering with us, we thank you so much for it. We have had, we do things to cut our expenses. Chandra, you mentioned campgrounds. We joined multiple RV groups, multiple RV clubs. As a part of those clubs, we get discounts on campgrounds. It brings our costs down. Well, that's one aspect. Another thing we do in regards to campgrounds is the longer you stay in a location, the cheaper it gets. So if you go somewhere overnight, you're going to pay a daily rate. But if you go somewhere and you stay there for a month, you're going to get a much lower rate. So we have found ourselves staying places longer, whether it be a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks longer. Just so happened, we never know what the Lord. Like I said, we're walking by faith, not by sight. So we never really know what the Lord is going to do. And we just left a work camping gig.
Yeah.
Well, we were in one location for 5 months. 5 months, and that's a story all by itself. Maybe we might do a video on that. Many of those that follow us have seen some of our journey there. It was a true blessing, but we were in one location for 5 months, and guess what? We paid zero in campground fees. So that was a part of our compensation. We paid zero for 5 months, so that doesn't happen very often. It might be something we might do again.
Mm-hmm. And not only that, I know you're talking about the campgrounds, but because we are self-contained,
right?
We have the wonderful option of what we call boondocking.
Boondocking. Yeah, boondocking is essentially, like I said, we have on our rig, we have a generator, provides electricity. We have a water tank, provides all the water we need. We have a septic system, provides all the septic options. So we are self-contained. So we turn that generator on and run our rig like it's a house. We have everything's in there. We're not exactly roughing it. So we're not camping. We're glamping. We're not living rough. Matter of fact, the campground we're at right now is we're at a very nice RV resort right now. But Adrian mentioned about the boondocking, and boondocking is when you have no hookups at all. There's no power, there's no water, there's no
Septic.
There's no septic, and so, but we have all those on board. So boondocking is essentially living for free somewhere with no hookups, and we have done that on multiple occasions. So that again brings those expenses down. So between our discounts at campgrounds and boondocking along the way, it all ties together and bringing those expenses down. So great question, Chandra. There's so many things that we do to try to minimize expenses, and our expenses are extremely low compared to where we used to be. And I will throw this tip out for those that may be thinking about this lifestyle, is to just like where you are living right now, is to when you make a decision, number one, to be faithful to God and to be faithful with your finances, living below your means. We can do this forever, as long as we put the Lord first in our finances and live within and below our means. And so
and pay your tithes.
that's a part of being faithful.
Pay your tithes.
Absolutely. So that's part of being faithful, you know. So we're gonna continue to give unto the Lord's work, you know. So we thank God for that. And Shonda, thank God for you, and thank you for your question.
Okay, next, Priscilla. Priscilla wants to know, how long do you think you will continue on this path?
Well, Priscilla, that's another good question. Right now, let me see. Last year we closed and we sold our home. That was in 2019. So right now, this is our home, and this is our calling. So to answer to your question, how long do you see yourself on this path? Right now, we don't have an end in sight. We don't have an end in sight. But I will tell you that we are open to, as we travel, if the Lord leads us to a particular location, and we feel His leading, and that's where He would have us to have a home base, if you will. We will pursue that, you know. But right now we don't have an end in sight with regard to how long we're going to be on this path. We love the lifestyle. We enjoy what we're doing, and we'll continue to do it. You know, we're doing what God called us to do. We're working in this kingdom. We're sharing the gospel, you know, as we travel. So right now we have no end in sight. But keep us in prayer, because like I said, we never know where and when we're going to be, and we never know when the Lord's going to have us to find a home base, another home base. So thanks for the question.
All right, next one's from Tanya. Aw, sweet Tanya.
Tanya.
She says, can I come with y'all? Miss the Allens. Tanya, yes, come on, baby. You can come with us. But of course, you gotta have your own motorhome, sweetie.
Let me, Tanya. Okay, Tanya. I appreciate your question, but you're gonna help a lot of people right here. Can you come with us? You know, a lot of people have dreams. You know, we hear time and time again, I want to do what y'all do. That's fantastic. But I'm gonna tell you, in order to do what we're doing, it took a lot of sacrifices.
Yeah.
It goes back to that first question. It took a lot of sacrifices with regard to change in lifestyle, change in desires, change in mindset. All these things had to take place in this lifestyle. Tanya asked the question. We love you too, Tanya. She asked the question, can she come along? The short answer is yes. And Adrian mentioned, here's why you have to have your own motorhome. Yes, you can come along, but here's one of those rules that RVers kind of know about. You kind of work around it. It goes something like, it's called the 6-4-2 rule. What you do?
6-4-2 rule.
It's a
Okay.
6-4-2 rule. We'll call it 642 for short. 6-4-2 rule. Okay. You have room to entertain six people. You have room to entertain 6. Okay. You have room to dine with 4. Guess what's next? You have room for sleeping
For 2.
for 2. Can you come along? Sure, you can come along, but you gotta have your own motorhome. You can come over and entertain with us. You can come over and dine with us. But when it comes time to go to bed, you got to get up out of here. So that's the 6-4-2 rule. So yeah, I would say that jokingly, but it takes a different mindset. Like we said, it's not for everybody. This lifestyle is not for everybody. And
But one of the greatest sacrifices in this lifestyle, you miss a lot of your family and friends. You really do.
Yeah.
Because when the Lord calls us and tells us, hey, it's time to go, we gotta go. And even though we're having such a good time, either reconnecting or even connecting with new people, and you just feel so comfortable and you just want to stay right there. But when the Lord said it's time to get up and go, we got to go. So that's a really big sacrifice that we have chosen.
Yeah. Some from the outside looking in will think we're on a long vacation. Not at all. All right, we're back. I think we cut off a little bit there on Vajra, on Vajra's question, but I just want to make sure that you did get that we are very happy. We have our most joy comes from doing what God called us to do, and followed by visiting with family and friends along our travels. So, thanks, Vajra. Look forward to seeing you guys again.
All right, this one's from Cora. Cora, call her my sister, friend, ex-coworker.
Cora and Aiden with teachers together.
Yeah. Cora asks, do you deal with racism? It looks like the folks you encounter are nice. However, there is always a behind the scenes.
Well, Cora, your question is obviously a very good question, and I like to change Cora's question. She asks, "Do you deal with racism?" The short answer is yes. The longer answer is, well, I'd like to change her question to, how do you deal with racism? I will say that 95, 96, 97, 98, 99% of the people that we encounter, we have zero problem with regard to blatant racism. The RVing community is an absolutely wonderful community. I will say that for the vast majority of our interactions, we have had no problem at all. Welcomed, as far as blatant racism, you don't see it. We have not yet experienced it. We have not yet experienced it. Again, we are on a mission, so we're not blind at all. We're not blind at all. So we are very conscious of our environment. We're very conscious of reality. We're very conscious, but we are a praying family, so we do pray before we go to a particular location. But to address Cora's question, there is that other 5% that and again, it's not blatant, but when people really don't want you around, or would prefer that you're not camped beside them. We have experienced that. A couple of things that I do, because we're not blind. We do know, we are conscious of our culture. A couple things I have done is, as opposed to going to a campground and going up to the office and checking in and saying, do you have any sites available? We go online ahead of time to make our reservations to make sure that racism doesn't become a part. That's a reality. It's something that many of our friends and don't have to experience, but it's something that we are conscious of. So I would typically make reservations online as opposed to going into the office. It's unfortunate, but we have had one occasion where I didn't think the campground was full, but it all of a sudden became full. So we're conscious of that. So blatant racism we don't typically see, but there's that 5% that it's there.
Not only with race, but also being Christians too.
Right.
We have had people that have kind of walked away or turned away, or I don't need you praying for me, or I don't want that, or I don't do that. And so we've dealt with that also.
Absolutely.
But can't stop us from praying.
Absolutely.
We just keep praying for that soul.
It's kind of ironic, because it's a very good question, Cora, because very seldom, I must say very seldom, do we see any other African Americans on the road. Seldom. So when we do, it's a welcome sight. It is a welcome sight. So it's not very often, but we do occasionally. So we obviously we're obviously glad to see each other when we do. Another thing that we have done at our Travels Corps is to we've arrived to a campground. One thing about campgrounds is when you arrive to a campground, sometimes you arrive after hours. And when you arrive after hours, that means you go directly to your site, and then you go and visit the office in the morning, which allows you to be set up in your site, and then you just go and pay in the next morning. You know, so or you go and visit the office the next morning and let them know that you're there. You know, so we have done that. You know, so we may have a reservation which I've done online, and we arrive after hours, not dark, but after the office closes, go to our site and go visit the office in the morning. Is that a big issue? It's not. Again, we don't deal with a lot of blatant racism, and we have not. You know, others have had different experiences, but we have not had even in ministry-wise. You know, we've had really, you know, people are very receptive. Obviously, they're very receptive to the gospel, and there are very few. Like again, you know, you have a Christian, a black Christian couple that are ministering the gospel, and we haven't had major problem at all with the gospel. We've had rejection, but rejection comes in every color. So rejection comes in every color. You know, so we expect rejection. We're sharing the good news of Jesus Christ, and when we share Christ, you will have rejection. So we expect that, but we haven't had a lot of blatant racism. That is an area of our travels that we are conscious of, and we stay conscious of. You know, so keep us in your prayers. We always want to do and be what God calls us to do and be, and God has really been faithful in going ahead of us and paving the way, preparing the way for us, and opening doors for us as we travel. So, Cora, thank you for your question. Very good question in light of our culture, in light of all that's going on. But we have not experienced a lot of racism. You know. So, anything you want to add, babe?
Oh, that was great, you guys.
Yeah.
We appreciate your questions. Keep them coming. You have
Yeah.
any more? We'll take the time and we'll address them for you guys.
Yeah, we'll probably do another video. We'll do some more videos. I'm debating whether to really pursue the YouTube channel. I've got we have a YouTube channel, but I don't do a lot of videos. We do our Under the Awning segments for the ministry, and we'll continue to do that. Matter of fact, we might have one coming soon. We have a couple of couples that we want to introduce you to, a couple of new couples we want to introduce you to, and so keep us in your prayers. Keep the ministry, Altar to Altar Ministries, in your prayers. Thank you so much for your support. You know,
yes, our partners.
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you for your prayers. You know, thank you for your financial support.
Yes.
We don't take it lightly at all. So we're gonna cut this off. I'm gonna have to figure out how to put the video together. And I think it cut off on us a couple of times, but that's okay. We're trying to get together. So it looks a little choppy. It's our first time, so we're gonna try to get better. We love you all. Thank you so much. Keep your questions coming. You know, chime in, follow along. If you have other questions for you, we'd love to answer them for you. And we'll be back in touch real soon.
Shall we tell about the alternateministries.org?
Absolutely. You can visit us obviously on Facebook. We have we tweet once in a while on Twitter. We do have our webpage that is at altartoaltarministries.org. ALTARTOALTARMINISTRIES.org. So you can visit us at our webpage there. We're making that's kind of like our hub, you know, for the ministry. But again, thank you so much. We love you. God bless you, and we will see you next time. God bless.